Well, hello everyone. I see some people are now in the session with us, so I guess that means we're now live. Well, maybe just give it another minute or so before starting, because usually we have people tuning in from all different parts of the world, so it's always good courtesy just to give everybody a minute to connect. But just for fun, if you are already here, you can type in and let us know where you're tuning in from. It's one of our favorite things to do before we start these webinars. So on the bottom of the Zoom window, there's a chat box that you can type in your location. So let us know where you're at. Are you US, international? Where are you coming from? Bruce and I are both in Southern California, but we are a remote-based company, so we have lots of employees that stretch across the globe. So it'd be nice to see where everybody else is coming from. Oh, cool. We got some people from Minnesota. Great. Got people from Chicago. Bruce is originally from Chicago, so hello out there, Windy City. Hello from London, New Jersey, Lake Elsinore. Oh yeah, I like Lake Elsinore. It's great up there. You got the Bay Area, got California. Hello, fellow Californians. Idaho. Hi, Idaho. Corona, California. Got Madison, Wisconsin. Great. We got people from all kinds of the world. I like it a lot. No international people yet. I usually like to hear people from the international world. It's always great to see people from across the waters, but oh, more people from Chicago. So a lot of people from your hometown, Bruce. Great. In New York and Connecticut. Great. All right. Well, thanks everybody for letting us know where you're joining from. It's always fun to kind of see everybody join in on these virtual events. It's really cool and humbling to know that we have the technology to do that. Couldn't do this 20 years ago, so it's pretty awesome to be able to host another Q&A event. It's actually been almost 2 years since we've hosted one of these live Q&As to the public, because we typically just host exclusive Q&As for our training members at SEOtraining.com. You can always join us for those monthly Q&A sessions, and I believe the next one is in 2 weeks. So if you're interested, just head over to SEOtraining.com and you can become a member today to get more answers to your SEO questions. So be sure to check that out. Now, just a quick introduction on myself. My name is Dylan Bibbert. I'm the senior producer here at Bruce Clay Incorporated, and I'm going to be moderating the questions for today. Of course, I'm joined by Bruce Clay himself. He's the founder of the company and the father of SEO, the actual title, the father of SEO. Hi, Bruce. How you doing?
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Very cool. Now, the way this works is actually pretty straightforward. To submit your question, you just need to type it in the Q&A box below on the Zoom window and submit it there. We do not prefer questions to be submitted in the chat box where everybody just typed in their location, because sometimes it can get lost in the thread of comments coming in. And we don't want to lose track of them. So the Q&A box is for questions, chat box is for comments. Again, pretty straightforward. You're not limited to just one question, but we're trying to allow everybody to get at least one question answered. So we'll be prioritizing questions from new people. For questions that we don't have time for, we will do our best to follow up, but I would highly recommend following us on our Bruce Clay Incorporated social media channels. You have LinkedIn, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. That is where we provide a lot of answers to SEO questions on a pretty frequent basis. So be sure to follow us there. Alrighty, I think I've got all the instructions down. Bruce, do you have any comments before we jump into the first question?
Not really. I think that I am sure that the questions will vary between what is Google doing to us and what is AI, and I mean there'll be all sorts of questions about all sorts of topics. So I'm ready.
Ready. Alrighty, let's start jumping into some of these questions here. Give me a sec. All right, first question, Bruce. Is it worth spending time and effort to optimize content in order to rank organically for the top performing PPC keywords? Is this an effective use of SEO time?
So you want to know if it's effective to optimize organically for pay-per-click. I assume it's as a pay-per-click ad landing page into your organic space. Historically, people have advocated having a separate pay-per-click landing page specific to the keyword in the mission. So, and generally, those are shorter pages. So if you have landing pages, you can do some SEO because there is a quality score involved, but usually you don't optimize SEO for pay-per-click at all. You optimize SEO for SEO. Now you're going to want to, especially in the new AIO world, the AI overview, which appears at the top of the page, Google's been playing with putting it above or below some of the pay-per-click ads. You're going to want to be in a position to show up there if you can. It's still pretty new, so we're still all researching it. I've been moderately effective in getting in there. The featured snippet still appears, at least for now. So a featured snippet is very, very powerful relative even to pay-per-click. But would I spend a lot of time doing SEO for pay-per-click? Let's back up and look at it differently. Does the pay-per-click make money? Are you paying a lot of money for it? And would you rather have free traffic? And my guess is that you'd certainly like to identify where pay-per-click is making money and then optimize for it organically to be in the Google organic results. It'll also improve the quality score of that landing page. So I would optimize for a landing page used for pay-per-click and try to make it as good as I can make it. But understand that a pay-per-click project typically has its own landing pages.
Typically. All right, great. We got a lot of good questions coming in, so let's jump into some more. Here we go. If I have a single physical business, how do you need to structure my service area pages to try and rank organically for cities outside my services? Like domain plus keyword and city times 100 pages, or like domain/keyword plus city, or perhaps like non-geo-specific service pages and then service areas that link to the service pages.
This is one of those, it all depends.
Hmm.
I think that, and by the way, we do a lot of affiliate, not affiliate, but franchise type operations where there's franchises all over the US and all of them are cities and they all have their regions and they all care about ranking in their regions. If you're in an environment like that, it's going to be franchise owner / franchise location. Now, if you're just your own site and you want to cover a region, you could easily have your domain and then create a subdirectory and do it there. You wouldn't create a subdomain. And you have to understand, if you're going to create a geo-targeted subdirectory, you really need to make sure that the content in that city, I think it'll be by city, the content in that city is not just about the city. I mean, that is a little bit too much like a travel site or something like that. And you're not. You have to say, if I'm talking about being a lawyer in Chicago, I have to talk about Chicago and lawyer as to how they relate to each other, not separate topics. So I have to say the courthouse in the city of Chicago normally is available here and parking is right next door. The Windy City is often home to major trials. I mean, you have to talk about the region or the city relative to the topic of the website. And that's going to be what's important here. So if you're a franchise, you may not have as much flexibility. If you are a sole proprietor kind of thing, it's your domain. You can probably use subdirectories, never use subdomains. They're the kiss of death. Do not do a lot of microsites. Do not create a separate domain for each. If you're a lawyer, a practice area, or a consultant, you're into multiple services, you really want to consolidate it as best you can. That's where it depends comes in. That's why we'd have to look at it. but operationally, it's typically a subdirectory under the domain. And within that subdirectory, it's a hybrid page that talks about the location specific to how it influences your practice area. That's the way I'd probably set it up.
All right, great. Good questions. Next one. For a website who lost 95% of their organic SEO traffic after the release of Google Panda, would you recommend removing the low quality thin content, the parentheses pages with under 500 words, or adding additional content to those pages, parentheses website has 3,000 pages of content? The website is in the health and fitness space.
Well, that's a tough space. So on my site, I had almost 5,000 pages. And late last year, I had 3 people doing nothing but getting rid of or evergreening my content. So that's your first question. If the content is really out of date, you don't need it. For instance, in the SEO space, we used to do something for all of the conferences called a live blog, where we would actually send in a team of writers, I mean multiple people, to attend the conference, sit in the sessions, and do live blogging of the session. And we would post about the session within probably half an hour of the session ending. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, a session in 2004 probably is not relevant today. So I went through the process of pruning off things that did not make sense. However, on the other hand, you have things that are appropriate to be evergreened. This is a topic, and people are constantly interested in the topic, and the topic never ages. The problem you may face, and by the way, there's no easy way to say, is that low quality or not? However, if the page is short, what you're going to care about is whether or not your competition is got lengthier pages on the same topic. Sometimes the query deserves information, and sometimes it doesn't. So if you're about the same size as your competition, that part I wouldn't worry about. Now, there's this document out there called the Google Quality Rater Guidelines. It's still effective, still important. The Google Quality Rater Guidelines, on probably a fourth of the pages, discusses the maintenance level of the site being reviewed. Old sites actually is a poorer rating. So what you're going to want to do is at least refresh the content that's evergreening, and that may include increasing the amount of content on the page. Now, there's 2 ways to do that. You can just blindly rewrite the page, and as you do it, you can add some content. The other way is you can refresh the content that's on the page, evaluate the page, and then add one of our custom FAQs. That's not really a plug. I'm just telling you. If you go to my blog, go to any of the entries, the first entry, go to my blog, go to the first entry. It was published, I think, 2 days ago, something like that. Go down to the FAQ and read it. That is what I'm discussing. You can add sections like an FAQ in our mode, not the standard FAQs you're used to. And you can double the size of your page pretty conveniently, and it'd be fast. So you can do that. And by the way, if you go to my first blog post, and I know a lot of you may be doing that right now, go to bruceclay.com, go to blog, go to the first blog post. There's a set of jump links at the top. Go to FAQ and read what I'm talking about. That'll give you an example of how you can change the reaction to your entire page. It's a question-centric thing. And as you know, Google's going more centric question. So you would look at that FAQ. You could create one for your particular page. By the way, if you do a Google search for that question, we typically show up pretty well, first page. And it's because of the way we structure our FAQs. So I would mimic what we're doing on our website. Not to do it as a plug, but we do have a product. We could talk about it later, but it writes the FAQs for you. And then your writer just integrates it into your site, make sure it's your voice, your info, and it works really great. So not to get into a tangent area, but I would prune off the stuff that is not evergreen, and I would rewrite and enhance the things that are evergreen. And if you do that, it wins. When I did it to my site, I went from 5,000 pages to 2,800 pages. I put FAQs on 1,000 pages. By the way, I spent money on this. I put the FAQ on 1,000 pages, and a vast majority of my FAQs are page one. Mm-hmm. And about a third of the time, I'm the featured snippet. So enhancing a page with an FAQ kind of a paragraph is really powerful. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
Yeah, and you mentioned it briefly. We do have a tool, prewriter.ai, that we highly recommend you go check out because we have an FAQ generator in that tool. The way it's different from the other AI tools like Chat or Gemini or whatever AI tools that are out there is that we're using specific SEO scripts to generate the results. It's not just using generic AI code to generate the output. It's like we're using actual knowledge-based SEO scripts to generate the proper FAQ based on what you plug in. It's a very powerful tool. Highly recommend it. You can do a free trial of it right now. If you could just go to prewriter.ai. Definitely check it out. Very highly recommend it. And like you said, FAQ is extremely important on your site. All right, another question. I have two sites. Both are doing fine, but the secondary is struggling. Any tips on bringing up its performance while maintaining the primary site?
All right, well, I'm going to assume that the real question relates as well, and I could be wrong here, but I'm assuming they're on the same topic. So what you don't want to do is pirate the results, and canonicals could be used for that. How do I improve the second site? Well, it may be that one of the problems with the second site is it's a second site. So this is, again, one of those, it depends. There's no cut answer for that. The other issue is if you're publishing the same content on both sites, Google will have a tendency to filter, not penalize, but filter some of the content from the other site, which certainly would impact your rankings. So I would think that a part of your problem could be that you actually have replicated content, and it's a filtering issue, not a penalty issue. Now, if they're on different keywords, then they're entirely different problems. But if they're the same set of keywords, it really depends on how Google is interpreting the replication of content. For instance, years ago, I had a person come to me and they sold custom knives, like kitchen blocks and, kitchen knives and all this custom knife stuff. And they had 18 websites, and they took our course, and he went back and he optimized, and under normal circumstances, he would see some pretty good results. Now, all these knife sites were selling with a twist. For instance, this would only sell German knives, and this one would sell any kind of knife, but you have to pay for shipping. And this one would include the shipping, and shipping is free. And I mean, they had all these little spins to them. And they complained that they couldn't get more than 15, 18% in the top 10. And by the way, that's not shabby in today's world, but back then that was not as good as I wanted. And so he complained about it. So I created a single run in our tools that would take all 18 sites for his set of keywords. I put all the keywords together, put all the sites together as aliases, and I ran it, and turned out 85% of the time he was on page 1. He was fighting himself constantly. That's what the problem was. And you can't have multiple sites with really replicated content and expect them to perform well against each other. So that's what we had to do. We have to make sure that we can get it so that the sites are not their own worst enemies. So if it's totally replicated content, that may be your problem. If they are not replicated content, then the question would be whether or not perhaps they have speed problems, or the server is messed up, or you can't get crawled, or maybe one site has a bad robot site. I mean, there's a myriad number of things that could go wrong. That would be something you'd have to examine. Historically, duplicate content is the biggest culprit, usually. Not always, but usually.
Not always. All right, yeah, very good questions. All right, let's do another one, Bruce. How should Google Analytics 4 be used in tracking conversions? Is this the best way to track where conversions are coming from? Also, how can the Google marketing platform be used to maximize conversions outside of Google Ads?
Well, first of all, it only has the data of where you've got the tracking code, and the tracking code is executed. So it's totally blind to anything outside of it. It won't, you just can't track it if it's not digital. The use of this, you're probably going to be writing your own reports. You can use Studio to do it, but, and in fact, we've done it. And we wrote all our own reports, but I wouldn't, GA4, if you asked 100 SEOs what they thought about GA4, on one hand, you can count the ones that like it. So, not to beat on GA4, but GA4 really isn't, it's a different critter than all the other analytics tools. And it's harder in many ways. Can you track things? Sure. But you'd write your own reports. That's what we had to do. We had to write our own reports. GA's okay, but we had to write our own reports. And by the way, we use a lot of the Search Console stuff. And we use a lot of our own information. We can't count on any of the stuff that you get, really. We can't count on it from Google. And it's inconsistent. And even if you use third party for simple things like, do I rank? I mean, you're not going to get consistent results from anything. So I almost think that Google has somewhat of a randomizer that says, oh, it's after 6 o'clock, let's change it up. I mean, it's really, really, really inconsistent. I was looking at my rankings this morning as an example, and I have movement of 1 to probably 10 positions on about 20% of my keywords. I have hundreds, 500 plus keywords, and 20% of them change multiple positions daily. And so any kind of a report you're using is my message. Any report you're using is good for the moment. You might be able to do some long-term trending, but short-term is tough. And usually the reports aren't what you want. You're going to probably want to write your own reports. I don't know that I gave the right answer, but that's my take on GA4 is it isn't really good, and it isn't likely to be able to give you any meaningful data outside of where you have your tracking codes, which is only on your pages.
Yeah, one of the comments that came in said that's painfully true. So it's like, yeah, kind of. All right, yeah, there's a lot to be said about GA4. It's a whole thing, but anyway, got another
Well,
question here, Bruce.
GA4,
Oh, go ahead.
GA4 maybe has a lot of faults, but it sure is hard to use.
Mhm.
That's about as good as I can say anything about GA4. We're not a big fan of GA4. No.
Yeah, definitely not. Okay, so got another question here, Bruce. The question is, any tips on where to find the latest SEO updates? Now, this question actually perfectly sets us up for something we wanted to share with everybody about our training experience, but I'll let you answer the question, Bruce, and then I'll speak about that in just a sec.
Okay. And I'll give a hint on that as well. First of all, you have to pay attention. Barry Schwartz, if you don't get his daily posts, if you don't follow him on like LinkedIn, as an example, you're going to miss an awful lot of data. I spend hours, literally hours a day, reading all of my posts and my emails and my newsletters, and that's what it takes. That's what it takes. Hours a day if you want to stay current. The biggest issue you have is Google announced they had changed, and this is old data about last year, but 5,000 changes a year. Now you might be able to figure that out at 12 to 14 changes a day, depends on Monday to Friday or et cetera. Now I'm willing to say that half of them were fixing the mistakes they made the day before. But still, 6 changes a day is an awful lot of changes, and you have to pay attention. Some of them are specific. Some of them are, you don't even see them. And some of them don't have anything to do with your site. Or some morning you may get up and find your rankings are gone. Yeah, it's kind of hard. The way we do it, the way I do it is I just spend my time reading everything, including my competitors. I'll read everything that they're putting out. Because again, in my industry, it's SEO, and everybody is in the SEO space is going to give me information. But I have to pay attention, hours a day paying attention. Conferences, are they good? Yes. Training, is it good? I would say yes. However, one of the things that most people suffered from is the way they learned SEO. Say, if you learned SEO haphazard, you didn't take a class, or maybe you even went to a conference and had a whole bunch of disjoint sessions. If you didn't really learn SEO, one time, learn it. Why does SEO work? If you don't understand SEO, it's going to be very difficult to stay up on SEO because you don't have the foundation. So my rant is always training. As you can see, we're big. I've got the ultimate URL for this, SEOtraining.com. And by the way, we do 2 things. And Dylan, when you get a chance, elaborate. But we have online courses, which is 15 hours of video on how to do SEO, and I am teaching a classroom course. And by the way, there's a lot of people that can take the online course, but their concentration is nowhere near what it would be in a classroom. And some people just can't learn online. Let's face it, they just can't. Besides, if you take the classroom course, you get to hear my jokes. I mean, it's worth it right there. So, all right, Dylan, why don't you just go?
Yeah, there's a lot to be said. And yeah, so what we want to do is take a quick pause and talk about our in-person training course. I know I know this is the part where we plug something. Just bear with us. This will just take a minute. And we believe this is actually directly beneficial to each one of you. I mean, you're all here asking SEO questions, which is great. That tells us you're looking to learn more about SEO. And we wanted to share about an exclusive experience to learn from Bruce himself. He kind of touched on it a little bit, but it's about the in-person training experience we have here in Westlake, California. So what it is, we're offering a 3-day training event, and it's hosted by Bruce. It's not a virtual event. It's not going to be streamed or you can watch it later. This is exclusively for the 3 days only. Again, in person, and it's taking place from October 1st to the 3rd in Westlake Village, California. Beautifully sunshine weather out here. So anybody else that's on the East Coast or across the pond, wherever you're at, weather's always great out here. So you'll like Southern California. But the training will be held at the Hyatt Regency, and Bruce is actually going to be the one teaching the class again. He's going to go over the entire training curriculum that covers everything you need to know about SEO, and he'll be able to answer as many questions as you want to ask him. So you'll be able to do that as you take the course. And that is extremely valuable to your business, and he can help you give you the most up-to-date information on SEO. Kind of what that led into this perfectly was that question, because there's a lot of new things to learn. We've hosted this in the past, and we've actually had many students throughout the years come back for repeat sessions, not just because of how much there is to learn in the course, but because there's always something new to learn. AI has completely changed the game. There's a lot of new things always coming in. And this course is great for beginners and experts alike because it covers a variety of topics like SEO concepts, linking, siloing, and AI, just to name a few. There's a lot here. It's very extensive. And again, anybody can join. So the question you're probably all wondering is, what's the cost? What's this going to run me? Well, if you visit our sign-up page that's listed here on the slide, and I'll share a link in the chat window here in a sec so you can just go directly there. But it'll give you a breakdown of the price and everything that's included with it. You'll be getting the 3-day training experience. You'll get catered lunch and snacks provided throughout the day. And on top of that, you're also going to get 3 months of access to our online training program. That's at SEOtraining.com. So get that for free for 3 months if you sign up for this in-person event as well. So basically, it means you get more than just the 3 days. You're going to get all of that online content. And then Bruce says that the main training course is 15 hours, but we have that plus like hundreds of hours of content on that site discussing SEO in all different formats. There's a wealth of information there. So that's all included if you sign up. However, what's not included is the travel arrangements or hotels, but there are discounts for staying at the Hyatt Regency if you mention the training. It's mentioned on the sign-up page, so definitely look into that. That all being said, we are offering you a special discount to sign up for that training experience by September 13th. If you go to the link right now and sign up using the promo code training24, you'll get a $400 discount. That's a 22% discount off the full price. And you can use that extra money for the travel accommodations, which makes this a great deal. So again, that's promo code training24, all one word, no spacing. But again, that discount is only available until September 13th, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So be sure to sign up for that and get that discount quickly. And another thing worth mentioning here is that if you have team members that you would like to have join the training and not just you, maybe you have a team of people, maybe it's the marketing team or SEO team, you can reach out to us about group discounts. We offer that as well. It's separate from this promo code, so don't sign up for that and then ask for the promo code later for the other people. Just reach out to us about how many people you would like to sign up, and we'll talk to you about the discounts we offer for that. It's a good deal, and there's no better person to be learning SEO from than Bruce. As you can tell, he's very knowledgeable. And as I've mentioned before, we used to hold this in-person training pretty frequently, but ever since the pandemic, we've scaled this experience back considerably, and that makes this a lot more of an exclusive event now. So if you want to learn directly from Bruce, and now's the time to do it, because we don't offer this experience that often anymore. And lastly, I just want to mention that if you're thinking that you'll just save the money and you'll learn SEO on your own, it's perfectly fine. Do your own thing. We respect that. But we just want to stress that SEO is a competition. You are competing against millions of others in the search engines. This is no easy thing to learn. And knowing what it takes to beat all of them, that's an extremely challenging and daunting task. So if you want to win at this competition, if you want to win at SEO, we believe that you have to invest in training. You have to. And Bruce is the father of SEO. Literally, just type in father of SEO in Google right now. Watch what comes up. He's been teaching this for many years, and to learn directly from him is the best you can get in SEO training. Plus, in training allows you to speak with him more one-on-one about your site, and you'll also, like he mentioned, get to hear some of his jokes, which aren't half bad. So that alone is worth it. But seriously, we can't recommend it enough. So if you're interested in upping your SEO training, just use that promo code, sign up for the course, and we'll be happy to see you guys out there. So, Bruce, any comments before jump back into more questions?
Well, you did so well. I'm thinking of signing up.
You'll be there.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Anyhow, one way or the other, certainly we are prepared, and one of the reasons for a webinar is everybody in a webinar gets to do their little spiel. But in this particular case, it's almost a public service. I just have to pay for the hotel and food and everything else. The handout for the class, I just happen to have, and it is that thick. 350 slides about, all full color, full detail. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a pretty detailed handout. We cover so much. So the question was, how do I basically keep up, and how do I learn? You got to have a foundation. You just have to. I've been teaching the course 20 years. I teach the one-day masterclass with SMX on SEO. I've taught master classes at other conferences before they stopped. Yeah, I mean, this is how you build your foundation, and that is how you learn. Now, I'll bet many of you probably have budgets for training that you haven't used this year. There's a high probability of that, and if you have a reason and you want SEO, I've had one person take it. I think it was 13 or 14 times.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy fly in from Amsterdam every other year, took it 5 times, and he flew in for it. And I'm in California, so it's a good course. I like it, and I don't like lots, but I like this course. I did it right, and I think you'd like it. Anyhow, that's the total spiel for how do I stay current. Well, you can't stay current if you aren't staying current.
The answer was in the question. But yeah, and again, we will have it on the screen here. So, and we'll also be sending out a replay of this video later, so you don't have to worry about jotting it all down right now. You'll get more information on this in a sec. But again, the promo code is only good until September 13th, and the training is less than a month away from now. So definitely, if you're considering doing this, talk to your team, talk to your business owners, whoever you need to talk to, get that all set up, and we'd be happy to see you all out there. So yeah, keep that up there. And again, the information's here on the slide. All right, Bruce, let's jump into another question for you. Any advice on new privacy regulations and cookie consent banners severely affecting traffic logged in GA4, including organic traffic numbers and tracking marketing efforts?
Make sure I understood the question. Are you saying that the banner you're putting out, which is consent to cookies, is being disruptive of your rankings and traffic? Is that?
So it was any advice on new privacy regulations and cookie consent banners severely affecting traffic logged in GA4, including organic traffic numbers and tracking marketing efforts?
Okay. Well, you don't have an impact on anything, provided that the what you would consider to be a consenting banner, and this is assuming you actually care about cookies. Some of your sites may not care about cookies. You can use tracking codes for a lot of stuff. Assuming you care about cookies, you really want the banner to not be a full page pop-up. You want it to be only across the bottom of the page and only as much as you need. If it is too much of the page, Google's going to assume that's your page.
Mhm.
That's part of the problem. For a long time, and I'm talking years, the way people did it is if they had to put up a full page, a pop-up for anything, or sign up to my newsletter or anything, you don't do it within the first 20 seconds of page load. And the primary reason for that is technical. Google runs a headless browser, and the headless browser executes JavaScript and CSS and all that stuff. And then that document object model is given to Google for indexing. Well, if it happens too fast, Google thinks that's the web page, which really disrupts your EEAT. It disrupts your page load time. It disrupts your ability to get the message. And in some cases, your pop-up is indexed as your homepage. So the content on your homepage doesn't even get spidered. It's the pop-up that got spidered. So what we recommend is it be less than 20% of the height of your page, and it's across the bottom. That's the way we have been doing it. If you go to our site, it turns out that a lot of, this is a strange thing, but for anybody, it's a brand. It's a risk. People were calling and selling SEO services as if they're Bruce Clay, but they were using Gmail addresses, not Bruce Clay addresses. We use bruceclay.com worldwide. That's the only one we use. And they were using Gmail, and they were selling SEO services as a scammer. And then people would call us and say, where's our service? So we actually had to put a banner up that basically said, if it isn't a Bruce Clay email, it's fraud. Customer service kind of thing. It's really tough out there. And people don't pay attention. They don't know. And so it's a problem. The thing that says, hi, do you want cookies? There's a lot of them out there, and some of them are really big. Keep it less than 20% of the screen. If you're going to have it be bigger than 20% of the screen, delay it if you can. You got to pay attention to your core vitals, core web vitals. Pay attention to some of those. You probably have to pay more attention to your speed. If it depends on if you're dynamically loading anything. So keep it small. There is no issue. I have not, out of all our clients, and that includes public companies, no, we haven't had any problems with any of it yet.
Yeah. All right. All right, let's move into another question. We have about 15 minutes left, and we'll see where we're at, see how many questions we have left to answer. Why are subdomains the kiss of death? I think you mentioned that earlier.
All right. Well, in a good world, a subdomain is to specify a segregation of content, different content. And Google considers a subdomain to be a different website. So if I have, I'll use this, peanut butter jelly. They are related, perhaps, and it wouldn't be unusual to have peanut butter jelly in the same website. Now, if you look at Reese's, it could be peanut butter and chocolate in the same website. And I could very easily see Reese's having both of those in the website. But if it was peanut butter and spark plugs doesn't belong there. But if you didn't want to get a separate website, you could do sparkplugs.reeses.com. God, that's scary. But the real issue here is that you use a subdomain if you're segregating the content from each other. So if you had blog.com breadcrumbs.com, I have segregated the blog from my main site. And there's certain behaviors that affect how I link between them, that because it's an external site, it changes the dynamics of my internal linking, and it changes the way keywords and anchor text work. And you don't want to do that if you don't have to. Now, the second part of that is you really, if it's related content, you want it in one domain, because you want the content to contribute to this one domain, because that's the quality of your domain. That's the topic of your domain. And in some cases, you might want the concept of siloing. So look up SEO silos. The concept of siloing is that you have enough information on a concentrated content in one location of your website that is cross-linked from the top down in a hierarchical structure. And that allows you to become a subject matter expert. If you put your subject matter in multiple domains, it's very, very difficult to be overall subject matter expert. You might be able to focus a little bit on one very narrow topic, probably subtopic level, but it is not in aggregate going to really contribute. Now, here's the advantage of a subdomain over a separate domain. A subdomain, which would be like blog.bruceclay.com, the only thing registered as a URL, Universal Record Locator, is bruceclay.com. So any subdomain you attach to it has the same age as bruceclay.com, but it doesn't have the same trust. It just has the same age, and it may be for your convenience. Where you get into geolocations, Google themselves has for probably 20 years said don't use subdomains if it's city.domain.com. Make it domain.com/city. That has been a Google statement for 20 years. And while there's a lot of Google statements that come out with Google Speak, and you have to understand the concept of systems within an algorithm. They don't have like one algorithm. They do, technically, but they have really this thing as a whole bunch of separate systems combined as the algorithm. So each of the systems may have different rules, but it's really complex to have subdomains where you're sharing content. They're considered separate domains. You're just dividing your expertise across multiple domains. Whereas if they were subdirectories, it'd be one strong expertise pool. So I would do that. I would make them all subdirectories and not use subdomains. It is a kiss of death.
Yeah, got to be weary of those things. So, all right. Let's see another question. The last Google update slapped AI-generated content. How have you handled this situation?
Right. Well, our approach to AI is that AI is a tool, not a solution.
Mhm.
The problem you face is if you use AI to write content, it's regurgitated LLM content. And Google originally had a message that you should not, it has to be written by a person for a person. That was the way they originally put it. Then they altered that particular directive to be, it has to be useful by a person. So they switched it to more of a use, how useful is it? But here's what I found. if you put up AI content, Google recognizes it because there is a footprint for it. I can go on for 3 hours if on AI. But there is a footprint for it, and Google recognizes that. And it, in my opinion, AI content is last among equals. Google knows it. It's AI. Now, here's the way it would know it is difficult. We're doing an evaluation right now of 5 different tools that are the leading tools out there that are to detect if it's AI, like Zero GPT or GPT free or any of the others. And when we get in and we start evaluating it, we find that this tool will say it's 100% human, but the same content elsewhere will say 50% AI. And then you get into what causes the footprint. And the footprint is caused by having content that's too good. I mean, grammatically too good. People don't write that well. And that's one of the signals. So if you use software that says we're going to remove the ability to be sensed as AI, what they're really doing is they're interlacing your content with errors. I had a page that was 100% human. I ran it through Grammarly. And I mean, there's a lot of Grammarly users out there. I ran it through Grammarly, fixed it, ran it through the tool, and it was 94% human because it got too good. So one of the things that I believe is that Google isn't going to really be very effective at detecting AI. But if it's 100% AI, it's probably AI. If it's 10% AI, they can't tell. And so you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be close. So with the various tools out there, you can get very, very close. The second part of it is AI, and we have this in our pre-writer. AI is smart at doing certain things, including detecting whether it wrote wrong and then fixing it. So you could create a document and then tell AI to fix it, and it'll fix it. You maybe never thought of doing that, but in our tool we have hundreds and hundreds of those tests. So what you really need to be able to do is write as close as you can. You use AI as a tool. Use it to do the research, but don't use it to write the finished document. And if you publish a finished document straight out of AI, you're going to be last among equals. Right? You have to take the output and have a writer finish it. The writer is the artist. AI is the researcher. They're different disciplines in most people's worlds, but use the tool as a tool, and from there you can do a lot. You can do an awful lot. So I would, folks, you guys just go to prewriter.ai. You sign up. We don't take a credit card. You get 20 free tokens. Play with it. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, again, like you just mentioned, the mistake we'll see with AI, especially, is people just prompting chat or whatever, copying, pasting to their site. We're done. Talk about a kiss of death. Like that is the kiss of death. And the whole reason we called it pre-writer is because we recognize that it comes before the writer. There is a use for AI in this space. It's just a matter of how are you using it. And the tool we built with pre-writer is that we are taking all the knowledge base of SEO, generating the proper scripts and doing all the proper elements that require a page and all the research that goes into it. But even after all those steps have been provided, and we give you a wealth of information, way more than all the other AI tools can give you, it's still required that a writer comes in and modifies what we gave to them. It still requires that intervention there. And I think people don't want to hear that. They want AI to be the solution, not the tool. But we say that's not the case. AI is a tool, not a solution. And I think that's something we're trying to emphasize with people. But like you mentioned, it's completely free to try it right now. You can go try it right now at prewriter.ai. You get 20 free tokens, give it a test run, see what you think. You can create blog articles, you can create pages, you can do FAQ generators, refresh old content, do a profile. You can do a lot of things in that tool. Highly, highly recommend it. So prewriter.ai. All right, let's get into maybe another question. I think what we're going to do actually, Bruce, is because we have a lot of questions, I think what we'll do is maybe we'll go a little bit over just to see if we can get more questions answered for those that we didn't have time for. We might go in 10, 15 minutes over and see if we can squeeze in as many as we can here. The last Google, oh, I'm sorry, that was the question just asked. In classified ad sites, how do you deal with deleted ads? Do you send 200 with no index or a 410 or a 302?
Okay. 410 is page not found permanently. But as soon as you remove the 410, it's back. So none of the 400s are actual permanent anythings. So just so you know, the difference between a 404 and a 410 is a 404, Google has to find it as a 404 multiple times before they believe it. And a 410 is the first time they find it, they believe it. It's just an issue of belief. But if you remove the 410, then it comes back. Would I do 404s? Well, or 410s, or any of them. No, yes, no, yes. It depends. So going back to the concept of themes and evergreening, if there is a refreshed page or a newer page, then you would want to redirect to that page, not 404 it. If it is gone, never coming back, and I have nothing like it, then you can certainly do a 404 or a 410. But if there is something coming back or a different page that covers the topic, that would be a redirect. Case in point, I have a category page and subject pages, and the subject pages are, it's a collector's item. There's one of a kind. I put it in, it makes total sense, hierarchy intact. Somebody bought it. As soon as they bought it, it makes sense to redirect to that category page, not just delete it, right? Because somebody else may be selling the same baseball card or whatever it is. So it depends on whether or not the business model supports doing a redirect instead of a 404 or a 410. When would I do a 410? If it's gone, never coming back, no problem. Now, I want you to understand, remember earlier I said in the algorithm, there's a bunch of systems. We've had cases where one system says, I don't care if you have a 404. Doesn't bother us. But another system responsible for quality may very much care if you are not maintaining your website. So the issue to me is just because one team says, I don't care, it doesn't mean that Google doesn't care. It just means they don't care. So my view on quality and 404s is always do your best to maintain it. You know, and sometimes if you don't support the product, but the topic is congruent with your topic, sometimes it may make sense to convert it into an information page. And a lot of people, you know, don't understand that I want to be representative of the overall topic, not representative of only my products if I want to rank for the topic. So sometimes it is okay to redirect it. Sometimes it's okay to 404 it. And sometimes it's appropriate to convert it into an information page instead of a product page. So that's where it depends really plays here. There's a legitimate reason to say that, but that's the way it works. So.
It works. All right. Again, we're at the top of the hour, so I'm sure some of you have to go. So if you are leaving, thanks for joining, but we'll stay on for another 10, 15 minutes to get more questions answered. Another question, Bruce. What's the deal with Google's new thing with OG title tags?
Have no, it makes no sense. So here's the way it works. There's a page title, and it's called a title, and it's there, and it's representative, and you wrote it. It's representative of the content on the page, just like a book title theoretically should. However, SEOs have learned that you put the keyword in there and it makes sense. Now, most of the OG stuff, the open graph stuff, it replicates your page title as an OG title and the description, etc. However, one of the things that has been going on is that Google has been randomly rewriting titles in what it displays in the Google search result. And you need to understand that doesn't change what's indexed. It only changes what's displayed, which could be different. Now, for one reason or another, they're switching, or they announced, I believe it's only been an announcement that they would look at the Open Graph title, and it may be that, and I'm speculating here, but it may be that if you have an OG title, they're going to use your title instead of them making one up. I don't know that. I cannot imagine that the OG title should be better than your page title. That makes no sense to me. But it may be that because both are there, they're going to use it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Google in the index is going to care. I think that may only be for display. Think about it that way. What Google shows on the Google search result may be an OG title, but what they index will be your page title. And in cases where they're rewriting things, that's only for display.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you a quick little story. We had a company that they didn't want to pay for SEO. They asked us some questions, but that was about it. Training. And when they did their redesign, their design company said, we don't need to put a page title on any of our pages because Google's going to rewrite it anyhow. That's an example where they assumed that what was going to be rewritten for the display was actually going to influence the index. They're different. Your page title influences the index. What gets displayed, Google might rewrite it, but you have to have it in order to be indexed. So what they did is they took the title tag off all pages because Google's going to rewrite it anyhow. Total fallacy. And so what happened is the entire site got de-indexed because none of the pages had title tags. Well, that pretty much tells me that page title is important for indexing. And we know Google feels free to change what shows up in the search results. So I think if they're going to use OG titles, it's only for search results. And it's only for clarity if it's they determine it's clear. But it isn't going to influence indexing in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Let's maybe do two more questions, Bruce. As an old school SEO, I am looking for your insights. In 2024, how important is the tech stack to G? I'm working on a WordPress site with Elementor and Astra Theme, parentheses inherited. I'm optimizing it, but focusing really hard on speed and on-page SEO, yet wondering if I'm still pulling lipstick or putting lipstick on a pig, or is G more forgiving today?
Slightly. Now, And the lipstick on a pig is a good one.
Mhm.
My saying is it's not the job of SEO to make a pig fly.
Mhm.
It's the job of SEO to re-engineer it into an eagle. Um, so sometimes we're stuck with what we get.
Mhm.
So can you optimize it? Yes. I'd use the 80-20 rule and optimize it. I wouldn't go beyond that. The real thing that has happened over the last few years is, quote, usability, right? Everybody's heard that phrase. Essentially, what Google is doing is they have taken the level of SEO and moved content up so that it is now a hybrid problem. You can't do SEO without really paying attention to the usability of the content, and you can't do content without understanding the indexability and what it does for ranking. So those two teams are now mushed a little bit. The skill set is different, but they have to work together. But I would say chances are you have the on-page and technical stuff, which is tags and schema and what words are where. And did you decide that all of your navigation had to be a heading level? Whoever decided that, shoot them. But I mean, if it's a problem and you have a template and the template is all messed up, you do what you do, but I'd follow the 80-20 rule. I would focus on speed versus all the other Web Vital numbers. What we have, how when the core Web Vital the stuff came out, how important, and everybody jumped on it. Well, it turns out the only people that jumped on it are the people that cared about ranking, right? If you didn't care about ranking, you didn't care. Well, folks, that's the top 30 results of every keyword. So everybody optimized it. And now that everybody's optimized, or at least reasonably optimized, Google basically said it's not as important as it once was because everybody's doing it. Well, now let's look at what is different. Speed is different. Speed is a big deal. The rest of it is slightly less important. Content is a big deal, but the technical on-page stuff isn't as important. So I'm going to stick with the 80-20 rule, fix the things that are broken. If it isn't broken, make sure it's not standing in your way. And move on. Move on. You're going to want to make sure your content is competitive, right? You're going to have to look at content gap analysis. And that's an SEO thing. Because you see, a content person typically is dealing with one page, and SEO is dealing with a site. So our job is content gap analysis. Our job is redundancy. If you get duplicate content, it's a problem. Our job is cross-linking and not linking to everything in the world because it destroys your theme. Our job is. So we're site-wide, we're on page, we're technical, and we have to know the content isn't our worst enemy. And if you do it right, you're going to win. Now, you mentioned you were old school. Well, so am I. And I still think on page is a big driver. I believe it's a bigger driver than links. But you pay attention to what is in the way. You knock it down and you move on.
Yeah, Bruce, you were not just old school, you were around before there was a school. That's how long you've been doing this. You've been around since before, like in the Ask Jeeves world, before Google even existed, and you were around doing this. So you've been
3 years. My company is 3 years older than Google.
Yeah.
Right?
You've seen it all.
nobody really knew there was a time before Google.
Time started in 1996, or when they started, I think it was when. All right. So let's do one more question. It's actually about our training. How often do you revise your topics on your online course? By the way, I have been to the in-person training several years ago. Have the jokes been revised?
Maybe.
Hmm.
Clearly, there's a couple of new ones. You can tell people that have come to training before because they sit there and periodically they just moan during the course. Oh,
That.
that again. Um, part of it is it's foundational. A lot of the foundation doesn't change that much. AI is all new. Years ago, mobile was important. Now nobody cares. It's the way it is, right?
Yeah.
So the emphasis on certain topics has shifted. New topics have come. Yeah, some of the jokes may not be totally new, but some of them will be, right? How often is the online course updated? Well, we're in the middle of that now, updating the whole course. I want to make sure everybody understands there's 46 segments. It takes a while to update that course. But we are in the process of updating it, and we have come up with a process that allows us to update it much more frequently. But it is going to be when as I said, we're in the process of updating it now, and it is synchronized to the course material. So I have the new course material, and the online course is in the process of being synchronized to it. So now, just so everybody knows, I've taught thousands of people. I've been giving the course. I used to teach it quarterly. And as I said, I've had a lot of people take it multiple times. And every time people take it, they learn something new. Or the business has shifted, or the competition has shifted, or they have a new product, or, and they need the reminder of, oh, yeah, I got to do that. And it's almost like a classroom checklist, right? Because when I'm up there teaching, what they're doing is mentally hearing a checklist and what they have to apply to their own site. And you can't afford to do that wrong. And you can't afford to play a video in the background while you're answering emails or eating lunch and have the same impact. I love the video. It's good. Just so you know, in the video, I stripped out the jokes. There's no jokes in the video.
There's like one or two. There's like one or two jokes in there.
Okay.
They're not that good, but
Mild.
they're there.
Yeah. But in the class, by the way, this is a Q&A here. And if you're in SEO training, every month I do a 1-hour Q&A just for people who are in training, in the training subscription. So that's good. And then when you're in the classroom course, I have a Q&A every morning, half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it takes. And I take questions as the day goes on. There's a lot of material in that big book. And there's something about being able to ask a question and get an answer that you just can't ignore. So I think that people who have experience with the classroom understand why it's good. People who haven't, until you experience it, you're not going to know how good it is. But it's a good course. Or I would never have had anybody take it more than once.
Right. And again, SEO is never done. SEO is done when Google stops changing things and all of your competition has died. That is when SEO is done. And just to comment on the, how often do we revise SEO training? A lot of the training curriculum doesn't change. It's kind of universal. It stays, the concepts don't change. So a lot of it is there. For the things that do change, from a production standpoint, it's been very challenging for us to kind of keep up with just not the updates, but just logistically how to implement it periodically and then also update everybody. It wasn't until about a year ago we figured out a solution, but we realized that solution was going to take some time to implement. So right now we're actually going through a big revolutionary process on how we update the course to where we can update the course very, very quickly. It's no longer going to be like, oh man, this is going to take a couple weeks to kind of adjust everything, film it, edit it, the whole thing. It's like now we can do it within like a couple days. So it's really, really quick on how we can update everything. But it's a big undertaking, so we're working on that in the background. But like Bruce mentioned, the in-person training that's a month from now, this is a great opportunity to just get the most up-to-date information directly from Bruce himself in person. It is a different experience, although it's the same curriculum. It's a different experience just doing it in person. And some people just tend to learn better that way. You're a lot more focused, you're a lot more dialed in. I love the online experience. It's great. We're very proud of it. And I think it's great. You can, like Bruce mentioned, you can do a lot more with it. But at the same time, if you want that more direct, just kind of, inject it into me, all of the SEO curriculum, like that is the quickest way to do it. And I think it's something to where if you are interested in that, that is an opportunity right now to where I would take advantage of it because we don't do it as often as we used to. We used to be doing this quite a bit, but now we've scaled it back since pandemic and we have the online experience. So this is very, very exclusive now. So if you are interested, again, the dates are October 1st through the 3rd. There's the promo code there on the screen, training24. Check out that link right there. We will send out an update on this after we're done with the session here. So don't worry, you don't have to write it all down, but definitely sign up for it. There is a time limit on when you can use that. But this has been great, everybody. I think we're going to probably start closing it down now. I want to thank everybody for coming and for all the great questions. This has been fantastic. You've all been so great. Bruce, any parting words before we wrap up here?
Shock people a little bit. When you take the training, when I am teaching, nobody can have a computer open.
Yeah, that is true.
You are paying attention, and it doubles what you learn.
Yeah.
You can't, no distractions. Phones are on vibrate or hidden away. No computers. We give everybody a book. You take your notes and you learn.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit old school, but it is twice as effective as having open computers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're serious about you're going to learn. I'm serious. Otherwise, why would I do it?
Yeah.
I've got plenty of other things to do at my time. But I'm really big on making sure that people in the industry know how the industry should work.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to me.
It almost is kind of ironic that a whole course centered around something we do online. There's no online learning happening there in the in-person. Like computers are off. Like you said, you need to make a phone call, you can step out. But it's really, like you said, old school. And it's very effective. It really is effective. I've been through it many times now. And it really is amazing to see everyone's attention just is focused on what's going on because that's what you have to do in order to learn all this. It's a lot. It really is a lot to learn. So if you are looking or interested in that, you want more team members to sign up for discount, reach out to us. We'd be happy to speak with you. And yeah, we'd be happy to see you all at the training. So again, thanks everybody for your time. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions about the training, our services, pre-writer, anything we do, we'd be happy to help. And we hope to all hear from you soon.